Okay, this is one of the rare lab videos that I do, and partly it's because I work in cannabis. But anyway, this is a fairly normal looking cannabis plant variety. It is not that old. I'm not showing the official label necessarily. But that's what they're supposed to look like. And what I'm talking about today is this one and this one. They're both the same variety. Yes, there are some media differences between them, and this is a better media that they grow in. So that's the media is the NPK micros and traces, and with a little sugar and a gelling agent to keep everything in suspension and pH balanced. So, but anyway, these are the same, but this is from, let's see, February, and these are from October, so they should have problems. So the yellow is primarily nitrogen issues, but and pH issues and whatnot. So, but that's not the point here. You'll notice that fundamentally this one looks a lot worse, and it's got that clawing of the leaves versus this one. So and that certainly could be media involved, but the variation between these is not much, just half a gram of charcoal, because it's in storage. But the thing is, this plant tests positive for hop latent viroid, and hop latent viroid is it's the current AIDS of cannabis universe. It can reduce productivity by 25 to 60%, and this is just an excellent example of what it looks like in vitro. They don't root worth a damn. You can see there are some roots here, but the viroid does not spread equally through the plant. So this one has probably less particles than this one, is what I'm saying. But anyway, hop latent viroid does come from the hops plant. Humulus is the genus of that. It is a relative of cannabis, but it is a piece of naked RNA. It does fold upon itself for stability, but it's a tough little piece of chemistry going on there, and it gets into the plants, and it kind of works its way through and multiplies. It hijacks the mechanisms of the cells to produce multiple copies of itself, and eventually it just damages the plant to the point where it can't do anything. So symptoms are lack of rooting, the curling of the leaves, the clawing, and incredible lack of growth despite months. So I don't generally work on this one because I have plants that have gone through the viroid elimination program, and I'm focusing on those. This is just emergency backup if I want to run the process again. I have two companies that I work with to test plants, and mixed feelings about one of them, but they insist anyway. They insist they're all perfectly fine, and one's better than the other one. The other one says they're better than, A is better than B, and B is better than A, sort of thing. But and the chemistry, especially when it comes to identifying virus centers and viroids, has gotten to the point where we can detect, or they can detect, a couple of copies per sample, which is impressive since it wasn't always that way. Cannabis is hard to test, primarily because sending samples across state lines is frowned upon. But there are things about that, especially regarding hemp. Hemp doesn't have a high THC, and neither do these, even though these are recreational types. So they can be called hemp in transport, and that's kind of a loophole. So anyway, this plant, this viroid, is not something that's going to be caught by people in any way. But I will say absolutely it can be transmitted by a couple of pests, including moss, was it fungus gnats, moss flies, the same pest, thrips, mites. I think I've heard recently. Certainly aphids are notorious about spreading things, but it's only recently that thrips and moss flies have actually been identified as carriers. And everyone has moss flies slash fungus gnats. So, and there's two species, by the way, a big one and a little one. Regardless, very difficult to get rid of those pests. But anyway, so this is a prolonged video on this particular pathogen. I really don't see a lot of other pathogens in cannabis. Certainly, you know, Pythium and Phytophthora, which are one's a fungus and one's a water mold, more relevant in hydroponics. Let's see what else. If you do basic horticultural sanitation, clean your blades like in 10% Clorox, anything that cuts it in tools, change your gloves, change clothes if you rub up against plants, then you should really be fine. So there's lots of things that can be done, and there's new products. So anyway, it's the landscape is changing when it comes to cannabis, and people are becoming progressively more aware of what some of these things can do. Tobacco mosaic was actually the pest, say 5 years ago, but it's gone in the latent viroid direction, and people are freaked out about that and spend a lot of money to treat and deal with that. But it's there's stuff you can do. Cannabis seems to reinvent the wheel every so on. Well, I mean, on a consistent basis. So, and I think that's unnecessary. So anyway, there you go.